everybody. I'm Dan. My wife is Rochelle. We want to welcome you to Appalachian Hearts Home. If you're wondering about the name, well, if any of you happen to have followed me on the when I did the through hike of the Appalachian Trail in 2018, I did a YouTube channel called Scars on the AT, and I hiked the whole trail in a kilt, and I did so because I just wanted to pay honor to Appalachia, which is sort of the history of the Scots-Irish, and my own background, the Scots-Irish. And so I did that, and we decided to do a similar thing here. So this channel is, in part in honor of a little gal you may have heard of. Her name's Dolly Parton. And Dolly Parton's a big deal here in East Tennessee. In fact, we're only about a mile from the Dolly Parton Highway. And this barn right here, if you've ever been to Dollywood, or if you want to look it up on YouTube, she did a movie called Heart Song. And there is a big barn scene with a barn dance in that movie. And it was shot right there in that barn behind me. So we wanted to honor those who have impacted this land previously, as we're going to impact it in the future. And what are we doing? Well, I was an intelligence officer for 32 years, and Rochelle, she's just about to retire from the government. We spent a lot of time living around the world, experiencing different cultures, and always learning new things. And when it came to retirement, we were kind of left with a question. Do we just continue on doing the same thing, maybe in a contractor role or some other supporting capability? Or do we take on a new challenge, learn something new? So we've decided to do the latter. And here we're going to build what we consider a modern day homestead. What that means is we're going to be raising our own meat. That's going to consist of fish, ducks, chicken, sheep, and beef, or cattle. And we're going to raise our own food or crops. That's going to consist of a market garden of vegetables and herbs, and it's also going to consist of what we consider a food forest, which means nuts, fruits, berries, then ground cover, and vines, and probably some mushrooms too, all edible. So we're also looking to create some energy independence. So we're going to put in a solar system, and while we're tied to the grid, we're going to primarily just use our own energy and hopefully not have to use the grid at all. I think the system that we're looking at and we're going to install here is going to be big enough to do that. We're also going to be building a house on this property. You might be able to see just to the left of the barn there's a little white building back there. That's a farmhouse that was built in 1860 originally. I think it must have burned down or something because it was re-registered in 1932. But it was renovated, I think, from 2015 to 2017. So there's some modern things, of course, in it, but it's really small, and I think it's going to make a great Airbnb or a guest house when folks come and visit us. But back to the property and the channel. This experience, which we hope you'll come along on, is going to be how do individuals with our backgrounds, using the talents that God gave us and that we also learned in our distinct professions, how does that translate out to the farm? How does that translate into trying to build something, a life instead of a lifestyle, as one of the other channels is known to say? A couple of the principles that you're going to find that we're following is regenerative ranching. Regenerative ranching is basically having your livestock on pasture, grass-fed. And we're not doing that because regenerative ranching is an ideal that we were trying to pursue. We're doing it because it makes sense for such a small farm. This is just over 45 acres. We've got a lot of grass, I think, as you can see. Same thing with permaculture. It just makes sense for us, fiscally, frankly, to utilize the resources that are natural. Rainwater catchment in order to irrigate the property, the plants, the food forest. Just makes sense. Using swales on steep ground to slow that water down and to be able to use that water either directly at the plants or to move that water where we need it to be. It just makes sense. Having a food forest and having a perennial structure to our food supply just makes sense. There's only two of us. We don't have workers. We can't, if we're gonna have livestock and we're gonna have a garden and we're gonna have fruits and berries, we're gonna have to maximize our efficiency and minimize our inputs. Having a permaculture or food forest is gonna do that, because once we put it in, we will let those plants live or die and see if they can survive this particular zone 7B. And if they can, then they will thrive and we will thrive as well. And it's the same thing with the livestock. So from our perspective, being small, these principles of permaculture and of regenerative ranching just make simple economic sense for us, as well as time and inputs. So you're gonna see those things. And if you're interested, we would love for you to, of course, subscribe, and we'd love for you to comment as we go along. In the meantime, we're going to have, and already have begun, a lot of maintenance, a lot of preparation, a lot of infrastructure building, obviously including the solar that we're going to do, the house that we're going to do. So there's going to be a lot of other content for those of you who are more interested in the equipment or the maintenance schedules, installing, fuel tanks, and doing the other things that you need to do in order to build the infrastructure to be successful. And if you're interested in those things, come along. We're also going to do some hunting and fishing, and just enjoying the property. So we'd love to have you join us. The dogs you can hear are barking in your honor. So with that, I will leave you. And next time here, hopefully, we'll have Rochelle with us. All right? Thank you very much. We're out.